Hi there. This is a brief reflection on something that's on my mind, and so last night I watched the movie A Beautiful Mind about the mathematician John Nash and his schizophrenic breakdown at the age of 30. And what's interesting is that this took place at very within a few years of Pirsig's breakdown, and the treatment, of course, was exactly the same. It was a long course of, well, it was hospitalization, a long course of electroshock therapy, and very strong antipsychotics, which is what they had back then. And they both deal with it ultimately in a very similar way, which means that Nash, with the help of his wife, her compassion for him, and his own desire to maintain his intellectual and I guess you could say spiritual integrity, or his human side, rather than the dulling of what the medication does to the human side. He decides not to continue the run-of-the-mill treatment for his schizophrenia. He decides to actually use his intellect and his will and the compassion and the love he has with his wife to deal with the voices on their own terms, or rather on his terms. So he has dialogues and conversations with the voices and keeps them at bay. And Pirisig does a very similar thing. He tells the people at the mental institution what they want to hear. He gets out. He preserves Phaedrus, who ultimately is the narrator of Lila, which means that's the direction that he goes. And Pirisig has said that is that Phaedrus is who he feels like he is to a large extent. And so what's interesting is how these genius men dealt with their mental illness in a way that wasn't what society recommended. And ultimately they were able to continue to create. John Nash, not so much, but he did receive a Nobel Prize after the fact. But he was able to continue his, his mathematical exploration. And Pirisig, of course, wrote Lila, which we're very grateful for. But it also reminds me of something in Lila, which is the section toward the end of the book where Lila has her breakdown. She has her schizophrenic breakdown because her purse has been stolen and her meds are inside of there. And Phaedrus, who knows what this is all about, tries to take care of her and is hoping that she will just go through this phase. Because if she can go through the insanity, it can be sort of like a shamanic ritual, and it can transform her static patterns. And her static patterns are oppressive. They consist with layers of judgment of society for her past actions, which society considers immoral. And if she can cycle through that to the point where she sees herself as a full human being and not as a bad person, which is basically what society is telling her she is, if she can develop enough, go through this and transform herself into someone who can see beyond what society thinks of her, then she's going to be better off. And that's what Phaedrus is hoping. But unfortunately, these decisions require having insight at the moment that you need it, and she doesn't have it. She goes with her hyper-moral friend, Richard Rigel, who invariably is going to put her in the institution, and that chance for transformation is gone. So I think what I'm trying to say is that the mental health aspect, to therapy aspect, the philosophy of mental health aspect. These are all really interesting to me in these two books. And this is, I guess, the beginning of wanting to explore them more. So I hope that made sense. And I'll see you next time.